Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Puma El Gato, the cat that hands your female apathy back. And to my right over here is the man who's the narrow, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadlier than Diaz Brothers and spicier content than your girl's OnlyFans. Brother, what are we talking about today?
Alright, my man, so tonight we're going to discuss a topic that kind of caught both of our eyes because it really didn't catch anybody's eye. It's one of these stories that kind of went under the radar for a lot of people, at least in the sense of, look, when you hear about the topic, when you hear about what these individuals did, if it were a man doing these things, it would be all over the news. It'd be on fucking CNN, nonstop talking about it. They'd have a 24-hour cycle on it. They'd have all these individuals, what he did was bad, and, blah, 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 and, it looks like he's going to be canceled and all this other stuff. We're going to talk about the ways in which women seem to kind of get away with, we'll call it grape or SA. If you think about the two words that can put out, we're going to talk about that concept here. We're going to use two different instances in which it seems to be played off as a joke. It's really weird. We're going to talk about Mindy Kaling to start. Now, Mindy Kaling, as a lot of you will probably know her from The Office. She played Kelly on there. And, I whenever I saw her on there, I kind of saw her as, a little playful thing or whatever. I actually didn't know she was a writer for it. Good for her. She's gone on to write a lot of other shows, starring them as well, Mindy Project, so on and so forth.
Even just recently as the new Velma sideshow that's actually on HBO Max right now.
Correct. Even on the Velma show currently, which apparently is atrocious. Regardless, I didn't know this. A lot of other people didn't know this. It was brought to my attention by my man here. So there is a video of Mindy casually talking about how she SA'd a co-star. What specifically happened was they were doing a scene. The scene didn't call for any sort of kiss. She thought this man was very gorgeous. So in the midst of their scene, she went in and kissed the man. Played it off. They continued filming, obviously. And then after, they cut, she went back to her writers, whatever, and they told her, hey, you can't do that. We're going to get sued. You can't SA somebody. Just short of grape. She basically made a joke. She said, hey, if you guys say anything, you guys are fired, so on and so forth. There's an episode of the Conan show. I never really watched it, so I wouldn't be privy to it before this. But she's casually talking about it, how she's doing it. And apparently it's not the first time. Apparently she's done it with other individuals, other co-stars. Now, here's the thing that bothers me. Imagine if a man said, I just thought this woman was attractive, so I went in for a kiss. She wasn't expecting it because it wasn't part of the discussion. It was coming out of nowhere. Women would be up in arms saying, cancel this guy. He's a terrible actor. He's a terrible person. He shouldn't get any play. Don't you think that's fucking being the biggest fucking hypocrite? Don't you think it's fucking insane? It's ludicrous to think that this concept of this thing that anytime any man does anything that's even remotely viewed as SA or grape, that they're torn to pieces. If it even looks slightly, we talked about Aziz Ansari and what he did, which by everyone's account and everyone that heard what actually happened afterwards, are like, that doesn't really sound like you did anything, my man. Yeah, he was still canceled. Not Bill Burr. What's the other man? The bald-headed freak. We were just talking about him. Louis C.K. The man who in his own dressing room after a show announced to the room, everybody in the room, I'm about to jerk it. Giving everyone fair notice to either make their way out of the room or be aware what he's about to do. Was canceled. All of these individuals that get canceled for much less than what Mindy Kaling did. But crickets. Now, don't get me wrong. There was a little bit here and there, people talking about, oh, what she did isn't right. Definitely not the outrage that I see from males when they do it, when they're even close to doing it, when there's even the perception that they do it. Look, let's keep it 100 here. If any man, doesn't matter whether he's rich or not, if any man gets accused of grape or SA, the likelihood of them being canceled, and forget canceled, let's say it's proven to not be true. In the sense of Johnny Depp, I'll give you Johnny Depp as an example. All the stuff that he was accused of was proven to be false. And yet, there's a subsect of women that still say, I believe Amber Heard. He's an abuser. He's all this stuff. The man lost a finger, but he's the abuser. It's insane to think that people like Mindy Kaling can just get away with SAing somebody, and let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. It's because she's a woman. Because if a man was to make the joke, yeah, I go out to women, and without them expecting it, I give them a kiss. I go in for it. I don't ask. I just do it. I don't get their consent. I just do it. He'd be canceled. Thoughts on that, my man?
There's further details about that kind of bothers me. It was important to note that this exact incident that we was talking about happened on the Mindy Kaling show, and happened with a co-star, which actually was like an out-and-out gay man. So I feel like that kind of instance, as it were, the fact that she was an executive producer, which a lot of people would see that as an abuse of power, is even more heinous than it was just two co-stars and one. No, she was the executive producer of the show. She wrote for it. It legit was the Mindy Project. It legit has her name slapped on it. It has her stink all over it. And it wasn't just that. That wasn't the first instance. In fact, it's actually one of three. Two by the same person. Everybody's favorite comedian, Amy Schumer, actually said two different instances at two different times. One of which was she actually recounted at a foundation gala event for women empowerment. Ironic how that works. In which she described somebody that she was roommates with. I think they were having a party at their college dorm. She described an instance where she basically described that she was going to have sex with this person, and apparently she describes their face looking pretty distorted, not looking all the way there. And I guess they were expecting somebody else. This is her words. You can look it up. And at some point, she just decides to just have a go at him, even though she said, look, I got all the green signals from him. Doesn't matter. He was visibly drunk. But she decided to have a go at it because she said, look, I got all the green signals from him. I thought I was good to go. And she said after a very unpleasant experience, she basically felt ashamed of herself. Not because of the act of what she did, but because she said she was feeling self-esteem issues at that time. And she said that act would have made her feel good about herself. And in the end, it didn't. So it wasn't so much that she was ashamed that she committed, let's say, a heinous act. It was the fact that she felt she wasn't pretty enough. And she said that at a women's empowerment gala, and everybody clapped. Now imagine for one second, that a man said that they got all the green lights from a girl. And keep in mind, Amy Schumer said that she was stone cold sober at the time. A man saying that he got all the green lights from a drunk girl and decided to have a go at it. He'd be fucking crucified on a nail day one after the fact.
Oh, no, I 100% agree, man. And here's the thing. Think about the hypocrisy of that. She told the story at a women's empowerment seminar, whatever you want to call it, and she was applauded. She was treated as like some sort of hero, like she did some amazing thing. Listen, I thought consent was the whole point of this whole thing. And if you're gonna say that if you're gonna say that a woman who's visibly drunk can't consent, doesn't matter if she says yes. If she's visibly drunk and she's saying that she can't consent, okay, I'm with you. I agree, no problem. But you have to hold women to the same fucking standard. You can't have one standard for us and one standard for them. If he was visibly drunk and she took advantage of him, that's SA. That's grape.
In fact, the other one she said at one of her stand-ups, and again, I understand the shtick that she's trying to do. Amy Schumer tries to do the whole shtick of, oh, I'm undesirable and these are my foibles with dating or sexual exploits. Fine, whatever. But undeniably, what she described was pretty heinous. She described a joke in which, this is the second incident I was talking about. She described an incident in which she was taking a ride home, from a cabbie, an Uber, what have you, with a couple friends. Her friends were conked out in the back seat, and she described that she tried to get intimate with the cab driver. He wasn't had of any of that, and she forced his hand onto her private parts. Again, equally as heinous. But a bunch of people laughed, which leads me to believe that nobody gives a fuck when men are sexually assaulted. Another perfect example actually happened to a man, and if it would happen to a woman, would be pretty freaking heinous. Charlie Hunnam, you may know him as the guy that played Jax Teller on Sons of Anarchy, arguably the lead character of the role. He went on, I believe it was Conan O'Brien, which is weird that it kind of happened on there twice. It happened on Conan O'Brien show, and he was describing that he got catcalled by a woman on the street and that happened to recognize him. Now, catcalling already in and itself, it's like already kind of a gross act. The exact wording that this person used is pretty extreme, as Charlie Hunnam put it. Charlie Hunnam said that this woman yelled at him from across the street, and then she said, Jax, I want to grape you. That is disgusting. That is beyond disrespectful. How could anybody say this? This is heinous. And that leads me to believe. And the part about this that makes me mad, even at the time when I watched it and I was like blown away that these people did this. When Charlie Hunnam brought that story out to the audience, everybody laughed. Everybody laughed in the audience. Nobody saw that as a heinous act. But again, as tart as their argument is, imagine if that happened the other way around, where it was a female celebrity and a random male onlooker that said the exact same thing. It is heinous, and it leads me to believe nobody gives a fuck when it happens to a man.
I agree, man. Look, check it out. I'm gonna be a little bit more. I'm not gonna pearl clutch, man. It's bullshit. It's fucking hypocrisy. It's stupid. I think it's really dumb for people to make these arguments and say that it's absolutely heinous and atrocious when a man does it, but then to say that or act like or make a joke out of when a woman does it, that it's somehow, it's a little bit more lighthearted, it's a little bit more pleasant. It's bullshit. We need to stop fucking pretending that these issues go one way, especially because of all the pearl clutching. The second that a man does one of these things, even if it's just slightly perceivable, even if it's just slightly like can be misconstrued or misunderstood, they're brought down. They're canceled. They're treated as the villain, the worst person on the planet. But again, Mindy Kaling actively made jokes about it, which means she thinks it's perfectly acceptable for her to make those jokes and be that way. Amy Schumer did it at a women's conference. She did it at one of her comedy shows. Like, the fact that they're discussing these things in the sense of a joke, in the sense of I can do it. It's clearly okay for me to talk about this on national TV on a show like Conan tonight, like all that stuff. They clearly don't believe what they're doing is wrong. They think it's funny. They think it is what it is. So we need to stop this bullshit. If you guys are gonna hold men to this standard of if you do the slightest thing that could even be perceived, even if it's not, but just perceived as inappropriate, hold your damn selves to that same fucking standard. We need to stop the bullshit. We need to stop on all this extra hypocrisy. That's all it is. It's fucking hypocrisy. Is there anything else you want to add to that, my man?
No, man, I'm just about spent on this.
All right. With that being said, like, comment, subscribe. We're not going to let these issues go. I know some people are probably getting tired of us bringing up these issues, but again, if you guys are going to hold us to a standard, fine, hold us to that standard, but we're going to hold you to that same fucking standard. Like, comment, subscribe, hate, DM me about the bullshit. And with that being said,
until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.